And it's one of those things where I think it's, people just have to see, you get your foot in that door, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I love that Flagstaff has higher prices. I love that, there's the competition in the market for these homes here.
Yeah.
And like we talked about in the beginning, those factors of the Flagstaff market, they're not going away.
Yeah.
They're not driven by interest rates or anything. They are driven by just physical location here. So it's, it makes it huge for people just to realize, yeah, it may not be your dream home, but just get your foot in the door, and then you can roll that equity into the next place, know?
Exactly. And it's tough. And then everyone I talk to, and you and I, we have those experiences, right? It was hard. It was difficult. They made decisions. It kind of went fast.
Right.
And again, as long as they're not planning to be unstable with their personal lives and all of a sudden trying to sell in 6 to 8 months or something, because yes, there are plenty of cases where buying a home doesn't make sense.
Right.
But those other folks where it's like, all right, and I love, especially like that move up.
Yeah.
That move up where it's uncomfortable. There's so many different factors.
It's a perfect time for it because they have time. They have time to think, and they have time on both sides where like they could get their house under contract and still have time to find a place, and they have choices.
Yeah.
They have choices now where, before it was like, I think we were showing like maybe one house at a time because there was no other options.
Exactly.
Where now it's like, buyers, they, we go look at houses, and we're looking at, sometimes I have to limit it because I'm like, after 6, it starts to blend together. And they're like, so they look like a deer in headlights where they're just so overwhelmed by all the options and choices they have right now that they can't keep them all straight on which one was which. So usually it's like 5 to 6 is kind of what I limit them to, but they have choices.
Yeah.
And they might not have to decide that day. They could wait, 24 hours. 48 hours and really kind of think through it and talk through it and make it, a good decision. Because, that's the thing. It's like, I don't want someone to buy a home just because they feel this market frenzy herd mentality. They have to do it. Yeah. And then, 5-6 years from now, be like, oh, this isn't really what I was planning. No. This wasn't what, I wish we had this. Or, oh, the house down the street now is for sale. I wish we had that house.
Sure.
So
you got to be committed on it. But then that's where I think when we have the people that do the homework up front, and then know it's going to be uncomfortable, but they know it's a good pain and a bad pain.
You prepare them for it.
Right. And then again, it's I think that's a good, important point of knowing like, hey, when are we pushing too hard? This is not right. We just let it go.
Yep.
Or, hey, we're going to be uncomfortable, but that's life right now. This is never going to be like the most comfortable thing ever.
Right.
Like you said, all buyers go through, investors or second home, whether they admit it or not, go through this little swing of like, this is going to be awesome. This is the worst thing ever, and just the emotions of so much time, effort, and capital on the line. But when we see people come out on the other side of it, it is so extremely rewarding.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I always, I usually try and prepare my first time home buyers because I keep hoping as the years go by, because I think I'm coming up on 8 years now. And so as the years go by, I keep hoping this will go away, but it hasn't. I get teary-eyed, Chris, every time I hand keys to that first-time home buyer, because I'm like, you are part of like, I consider it a life moment. Like this is a life moment, like graduation, wedding, birth of your first child. This is a life moment that you never forget because you own this largest investment you're probably ever going to have. You own it, and you're holding the keys to it, and it was hard, but it was worth it to do it. It wasn't easy, but I think when something is hard, it makes it more worthwhile.
And people just don't understand, too, of how much impact that has, right? And the amount of people like, hey, you hope, and I don't have statistics and all this, but the amount of people like investing in their own 401ks and investing, in markets, like it tapers off pretty quickly after just retirement accounts. But then, and we know that statistically proven, the majority of net worth is in people's homes.
Right.
And when you and I are talking to someone then 5-10 years down the road, and they need to make a change, they need to do something. And this, I know this gets up in the kumbaya of it all, but it's like, you have equity. Right. I'm talking to people that are able to make big life decisions because of that housing decision.
And some of them, like, they've been in those homes for 40, 50 years. And it's like all of a sudden, they're seeing, like, they probably saw 3 or 4 down markets.
Sure.
it just goes through it. They just kind of float through it. And then when they're ready to sell, no matter what market it is, it's like they still have the equity in that home.
Yeah.
And it's physical right there.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, shoot, I should look this up. I forget if it's in the 80s or 90s, but like the last 40 years or something, it's been like a 300% appreciation rate for real estate.
Right. I mean, I don't think we see that in our 401ks,
No.
Nothing like that.
No. So you and I could get euphoric on it all. It will be careful. But yeah, I think, being paced. I guess, any final closing words here on what you'd recommend for any buyers or sellers right now?
I think it just, you have to really analyze if it's the right time for you, and you have to do your research on your local market, not the national market, because I mean, even when the market was starting to change, it was like, we were seeing something different on our side than what the news was putting out there. And it's the same thing right now. I mean, the last 3 weeks they've been very, very busy.
Yeah.
Very busy. And to the point that I don't even know the last 5 days what day it was, Yep. And so I would just tell buyers, you just need to get ready, and you need to talk with the lender and make sure you've got everything ready to go. If this is, if you do want to make that move up or move down, but if you are making that transition from a move up or move down, you might want to move sooner than later, because it's a great time for it right now.
I love it. Awesome. Well, everyone give Ashley a call. And Ashley, thanks for being with us.
Thanks, Chris.